You're listening to the JaM-Cast with JJ and MikeyMike.
Fuck no!
Our email is jamcast3@gmail.com. You're listening to the JaM-Cast with JJ and MikeyMike.
Welcome to the JaM-Cast. We're back. We're talking to Lee Lane, the famous Lee Lane from New Life Records over here in West Nashville. And Lee has an awesome band called the Stony Creek Ramblers. I'm sorry. The title says Rambler. With Skipper,
that would be their truck.
With Gary Skipper on the drums is what it says. So this is Lee. Say hello to everybody first of all, and introduce yourself, and we want to kind of feature a couple of your songs today, and then talk about whatever you want to talk about.
All right, yeah, this is Lee, and I appreciate it, Mike, JJ, two friends I've had for a long time. I've known J&J longest, but it's all cool. I'm glad y'all called me up. I've had a hell of a life.
I was telling my my son and his little friend about how infamous you were, and you being raided by the FBI and them stealing all your shit and never giving it back.
Well, in the business, we had a problem with the paraphernalia thing, and basically it was a federal thing that was after somebody else, but they used everybody else to get them, and it was sort of we just got caught up in the whole thing because of them actually wanting to find dirt on somebody else, and it's pretty shitty. But that's a whole other story right there.
I know, and I'm sorry.
It's a great story. It's actually a great story, but it is lengthy and it is a juicy one.
Yeah, but
but basically, when we got raided, they took what the state law said was legal, and what we had already been doing for 22 years prior to that. Never had a problem before that.
Yeah, you were not charged for anything, were you?
No charges, just seizure of our store, our inventory.
And you had how much money invested that they just took? And
I figure roughly they took $50,000 worth of retail price on stock.
Holy shit!
And all our computer records and different things like that, and basically we had 5 years for them to come back and actually charge us with a crime. So it effectively put me pretty much
out of business,
out of that part of my business to a big degree, not completely, but to a big degree, for 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and here you are dealing with CDs, and which most people don't understand that CDs were never a profitable item. They never were. Your basic CD cost was about $13, $12.99 my cost. And the retail price that I could sell them for, not what their list price was, because you couldn't sell them for that price; it's too high. I mostly sold them for $15.98, which left me a $3 profit on a $13 investment. And then if you take shipping away from put that factor in, you're probably making about $2.50 a CD on a $13 investment. Which, if you say it that way, it don't sound too bad. But if I say 13 times 10 is 130. And all I could make on that, if I sold all 10, was $25.
Yeah.
Spent $130 to make 25. Of course, we bought a lot more than 10 at a time. It was just easy math.
Yeah.
So you can see the only way the way the record companies had it set up was the only way you could really make it is volume. And volume is kids. In record shops, throughout the history of record shops, and still to this day, music-wise, it's supported mostly between 15-year-old and 25-year-old kids or young people. Yeah. And, And then along comes the internet and gives it away slowly but surely, and that's okay. I'm cool with the internet.
Hey, Lee, I got a big stack of old house records from the 80s and 90s. Is that worth anything? Should I bring them over and let you look through them?
You know, I mean, they probably are. They probably are. In fact, that's something nobody ever gives up on. Well, let me just complete my little spiel, and then that way, it was just a quick lesson on the history and the demise of the pretty much what was known as a record shop that sold new records.
Yeah, go ahead.
Me, but many others and distributors. So we effectively, what's going on here, we got record companies that's got roughly $1.50 in each CD, and that's production and everything after you break it down. And they were selling to my distributors for $10. The distributors are warehouses that are distributors between small retailers and record companies. Big box stores like Walmart are basically a distributor price-based thing.
Okay.
So anyway, so they sold them for 10, and they sold to me for 13. So I'm investing 13 to make $3. The record distributors invest in 10 to make $3, which is really harder because they have to warehouse tons of stock, just so they can, because they have to base all their sales on retailers. You know, where I just have one set of customers, they got multi-sets of customers. And then the record company, by the way, is making $8.50 on a $1.50 investment.
Right.
So you can see the unfairness, and you got to understand we're coming from a record store started in 1976, New Life Record Shop.
Right.
That when we started, you know, records actually were lower than what I'm fixing to say, but for basically they were $5, and you sell them for $7.98, $8.
Wow.
And then cassettes went up $1 when they came along. So was the 8 tracks. We started with albums and 8 tracks. And then once the cassettes came along, they were basically $6. You sell them for $8.98, $9. Same $3 profit margin.
Right.
Which, you know, it's not so bad. Again, you got volumes of kids buying them, and the internet wasn't in play at the time.
I was one of them.
Me too.
Yeah, you were. You know, you both were.
1989, 1990.
And the thing is, oh, God, Mike, you know, you bought a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, being a DJ, you know, I know. But the thing is, you got a system here where the record companies ate steak and fed us crumbs, and eventually crumbs was too much for them to want to feed us. So I put it on the record companies for putting new record shops out of business. Now, the used record shops, whole different topic, take a whole lot more time to talk about it, but they are ultimately going to be in trouble too, because you got to remember, somebody's got to buy it new before it becomes used.
Yep. So
the simple question is, where's the stock going to come from if people aren't buying it new? So that's pretty much the record business. And, you know, it's a business of love. It's a business of loving music. I don't think anybody owns a record store. If they thought they was going to get rich, then they learn real quick they better love what they're doing, because they're not getting rich.
Yeah.
You know, but they're having a great time, you know, making money and the customers and the environment, and, you know, hey, you know, so.
Let me ask you this, Lee.
Yeah.
It's a little bit on the same subject, but let me ask you this. What is the most valuable piece of vinyl that has ever sat in the store, New Life Records?
I mean, well, see, now you got to remember, for many, many years, we didn't do any used stuff.
Yeah, but have you ever had an autograph?
I'm not a used or collectible kind of store.
What about an autograph piece that may be personal to you or something?
Now, there's some stuff I wish I had kept.
I bet.
Like
I mean,
what?
you know, we've had many, you know, when it got into the late '80s and through the '90s, we were the #1 R&B and rap store in the South.
Yeah.
I mean, by one magazine's count.
Right.
And we had so many artists, you know, from Eazy and Dr. Dre and to Master P and Too Short. I mean, everybody but Tupac and probably Snoop Dogg. It's easier to name the ones who didn't come in there.
Yeah, yeah.
And wow. I mean, and that sounds crazy or maybe egotistic or whatever.
You're saying they've walked through the doors of New Life Records?
I'm talking about people who came and did in-stores with us and did autograph signings and stuff like that.
Oh,
or just came in and visited us.
I've walked in there several times and just, you know, passed by some guy and said, "Hey, how you doing?" and walked on and started talking to you. And later on, you said, "You know who that guy was?" And I had no idea.
Well, yeah, we got a lot of that too, and I really wasn't counting so much that as I was the planned in-store visits by major rap artists and some R&B artists.
That's pretty cool.
But it was great. I mean, store would be full of people, and it'd be total chaos, and you're trying to keep it all together and keep everybody happy, and be nervous as shit, but you're hoping to keep smiling and not look nervous because you're afraid, any given time something crazy could happen,
Oh, yeah.
Not to mention, I walked in there one time, and Billy Cox, I've ran into him several times there.
Yeah, he's a good friend of ours.
Yeah, he's a good friend of New Life. He's Jimi Hendrix old bass player.
Right.
Yeah.
Billy and Jimmy met each other at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, when they were both soldiers. And they were both screaming eagles. A lot of people don't realize that.
No, I didn't know
Jimmy
that.
jumped out of airplanes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so they had met each other. One of them heard the other play some music one day, and I think Billy went and checked out a bass at the PX or something, and they got to jamming and jammed many years after that. And Jimmy went to New York, and that's where he was kind of discovered.
Oh, that's great.
And Billy stayed back in Nashville because Jimmy was just another broke musician, that was trying to make. But Jimmy always told Billy, if something happens, I'll bring you on board. And something did. Chaz Chandler, the other notable bass player from the Animals, House of Rising,
Yes, sir.
Sun, Eric Burton, and all those guys, he discovered Jimmy in New York City by being told by a friend of his, a lady friend of his, to come see this guy, Jimi Hendrix. So he took him over across seas to England and put together an experience with Noel Redding and Mitch Mitchell, and then that was history until Noel left the band, and he brought Billy back into the band, and Billy played with him at Woodstock and a lot of other famous places, and had the Band of Gypsies albums, and that's that history.
Wow.
Well, Billy's a great guy. He's on the road right as we speak with the Experienced Interest Group doing shows at age 75 and in really good health.
Oh, man, that's great. That's so cool that you can reach out and just pick up the phone and call those guys anytime you
Well,
want. Well,
not just everybody, but you have certain ones just become friends. I'll be honest with you, I became friends long before, became friends with Billy before I even knew he was with Hendrix. I wasn't personally the biggest Hendrix fan, but I liked him like everybody else, but I wasn't crazy about him like some people are. And
right.
so the fact that he played with Jimmy was never the basis of my admiration for him as a musician and as just a person. I mean, you meet this guy, you'll like him whether he ever played with anybody or not. He's that kind of guy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool, man. Well, okay, so let's just back up and kind of recover. Let's just explain to people when you said paraphernalia. He was selling pipes and T-shirts and incense burners and all that, lighters and.
Let's just kind of start off with, we started in 1976, okay, and my partner Gary, he started this and in '76, and I came aboard in '77. Eventually became partners and incorporated the business in the early '80s.
Right.
But the music was on one side of the store, still is, and what some people would call drug paraphernalia, and I don't like to use the word drug but it is smoking accessories,
Sure. Rolling papers, stuff like that.
What now?
I said rolling papers, stuff like that. Pipes.
Rolling papers, bongs, pipes,
yeah.
Stuff you smoke weed with.
Sure.
And of course, we played the game, it's a tobacco game and all that. Still do to some extent, but things are starting to open up in the country now a little bit, so it's not as critical as it used to be.
Yeah, we just had a podcast with my brother in Seattle where you can actually smoke weed recreationally and actually go down to the local corner market and buy it, no problem, and carry an ounce on you. Go home and smoke.
That was on last week's episode. Go ahead and check it out when you get a chance there.
Yeah, I will. That's pretty cool. It should have been that way years ago.
It'll be coming this way
You're
soon.
right.
It'll be coming this way, and then.
Yeah.
But okay. So let me get this straight. You were selling those on the side just to kind of compensate for the low record sales, or.
Well, see the way you put that, selling on the side. No. Our name is New Life Record Shop, but we never made any kind of secret or tried to make a secret that we were had a great selection of smoking accessories. And one half of the store is dedicated to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the other half is music. Now,
right.
It is true It is true. It's just the way you put it, but it is true.
Well, I didn't mean to put it in a negative light.
It's okay. All I'm trying to say is it wasn't a side business. But it is true that the early years, you had to play the game. You still do have to play the game because, with it's a gray area, and you have to play the game. And
Sure.
It is.
Right.
So, and the thing is we kept our head low, and we didn't push it in anybody's face as far as advertising. And I think we did it the right way. We always didn't tell the kids, and we always checked IDs and all the stuff that we're supposed to do. And we got a nice little decision by Governor Alexander back in the 80s about a ruling in our favor saying it only can be determined by expressive of use what your intended use is.
Sure.
Which makes the tobacco word still in play, really.
Right.
And so anyway, that's kind of how our business has always been. It still is to this very day.
Right.
Nothing's changed. Now that 5 years I said I'm talking about, as soon as that was up, I was back in the game, baby. I know, I wasn't about to, give up my lunch to somebody else.
I hear you, brother. I hear you. Also, matter of fact, going back to where I ran into Samari Roll down there and a few other Titans. You see some Titans go in and out a lot.
Used to, not so much anymore, but yeah, they'll every now and then they'll slip in there. But
and I heard C-Wiz used to sell his mixtapes out of there. I know C-Wiz.
C-Wiz, my right arm, my brother.
Yep.
My total brother. He was my right arm for 10 years.
Yes, sir.
And one of my very best friends, and still to this day again. And
Corey is his real name?
No, his name is Courtney Poe.
Courtney, that's right.
Great father.
Yes, sir.
When I met him, he was a high school kid. Trying to be sharp as he could be and be a DJ, learning to be a DJ, which he learned that skill through. Actually, got him DJ White Knight.
Okay.
Who later on, there's so many people, in our history, really. And anyway, C-Wiz is now one of the premium DJs in Nashville, has been for years and years.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But he worked for me for 10 years, and I sometimes realized I was his base of operations.
Right.
I mean, that guy had cell phones. He had 2, 3 at a time, and I see him just, he's a hustler. When it comes to his music and what his game and what he did, and which was strictly legal, he's just one of the best hustlers I've ever seen him.
Absolutely.
One of my proudest moments was watching him one time. It was at a show that I won't jump the gun on here. I had a couple of rap groups, open the show for, but it was Mystical and UGK.
Yes.
And,
yes.
It was at the what they now call the the Brickstone. They call it the Brickstone now.
Uh-huh.
So we did that show, and DJ and C-Wiz, who wasn't really scheduled to host the show, was kind of there along with the radio DJ Rick something. I can't remember his name. Anyway, he was like big deal on the radio, and he was 92 Qs. And they were the host of the event, and they did a piss poor job. So Wiz just kind of took over at one point, and he had the crowd in the palm of his damn hands.
Oh man, that's great.
Oh, I mean, it's like seeing your son shine. It was like it really was an emotional moment for me. It was just one of those things where you're like, Jesus, look at this boy.
Oh man,
that works for me.
He has no stage fright. He'll jump up there. He'll get the crowd into it. I've seen him live and performing.
I mean, what they hold at that place? How many thousand people? That's how many people he had in the palm of his hand.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Incredible.
He's a good guy too.
I love him to death. Still do. He's a good father. He's got a different career now, but he still does his DJing and never really got the due that most DJs should get anyway.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your artistic endeavors.
Yeah, let's flip it real quick. We're gonna
the Stony Creek Ramblers.
Stony Creek Ramblers. Get back and we're gonna go ahead and play just a little snippet of "War Is Hell," and you can find it on YouTube. Stony Creek Ramblers, "War Is Hell." Here we go.
family guy. The bad news today. Another U.S. soldier's life has been taken away with a roadside bomb in the name of jihad. Now the sun is gone. There's a flag draped over a cold gray box, and they'll be sending him home. War is hell.
Man, it's catchy. War is hell. Now, Lee, that's you on lead vocals, isn't it?
Yeah, that's me.
Let me tell you, I haven't heard that song for a little while, but man, that just brings it back. Because I remember making the video for you on YouTube, and I completely forgot about that at one point in time, and JJ reminded me. I'm like, oh, that's right, I forgot. I made
that's
that
my
video.
favorite Rambler song, by the way.
Man, that's a great song.
A lot of people's, it is.
That is.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, we took a little special. How this whole thing got started is just to kind of take you back to, if you want to. I consider the first part of my conversation with you guys, I wanted to get out pretty much the whole record shop side of things.
Gotcha.
And because I knew you was going to get to this part of my life, at least, And the way it kind of started out is when I was 30 years old, I picked up a guitar. I always had one laying around the house as I was a kid. Hell, I didn't have anybody teach me how to play guitar, and there was nobody around. I had one brother-in-law that was, he could play it, but I only seen him every so often, and so I wound up painting it in red, white, and blue like Buck Owens' guitar. Hell, I thought that was the coolest thing ever. So, even if I couldn't play it, I could, I painted this, like I would one of my model cars or something. But
Sure.
So anyway, pick up guitar, 30 years old, with the express purpose of writing, songwriting. I always knew I could. It's nothing, and I don't hate to come off ego or whatever, but it's more confidence than anything because I've always done artistic stuff. I did drawings and stuff before that, and freelance cartooning, and got published in quite a few magazines and different things. And
hey, JJ, keep that in mind. He can draw, so we might get him to draw us a few things.
Didn't know that.
It's just one of those things. I'm a cartoonist. I don't try to be.
No,
I could draw a picture of either one of you guys, and it would look like you guys, but it's not my thing.
Yeah, can you do like a caricature maybe of us two, like
possibly,
the JaM-Cast?
possibly.
Well, we'll feature that or something.
Yeah, get me a picture or something. I kind of work off of that.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Lee's a very talented and smart guy. He really is. I like
Well,
bouncing ideas
I've
off
always
of
been
him.
able to draw, ever since I was a kid. And I remember the first thing my daddy showed me how to draw was Fred Flintstone, and pretty soon I was out doing him. So, and I never.
Well, then he can already draw me then, because I look just like Fred Flintstone.
Oh,
So.
yabba dabba do time. Hey, but seriously, I as a kid, I never could understand why everybody can't draw. Why some people can draw and some people can draw just stick figures and stuff, And but regardless, in high school I turned down 2 art scholarships to Austin P, and I didn't want to go to college at the time, but kind of should have probably, but it just wasn't where my head was at the time. And but anyway, so fast forward, and here I am, 30 years old, and I've always wanted to write songs, but I didn't want to be one of those guys that wrote songs that couldn't play an instrument.
Sure.
So, got me a guitar and started taking some lessons with this one guy, bluegrass guy, who's a really cool dude. And he had to go on the road with Fred Duggan, his name. He had to go on the road with New Tradition, a bluegrass group. It was a record. This was not a big bluegrass group, but they had CDs and did tours and stuff. So anyway, he had to go back on the road, and I met with a guy named Dan Justice. And he was my guitar teacher, my second guitar teacher, and became just a tremendous friend and writing partner. Almost immediately we went from. I had already you got to understand now. I had already bought a little 4-track recorder, microphone and stuff. I was when I say I was ready to write songs, I was ready to write songs before I could play the damn thing.
Oh wow!
So we almost immediately went to. Lessons to come in my house and record music, and he was a great guitar player. Still one of the better rhythm guys. And I'm gonna tell you, this guy can play slide and lead like nobody's business. He can really play his ass off, as good as anybody I've ever met, or just about anybody I've ever seen.
Right.
But he was immaculate on rhythm, And a lot of people who don't realize, don't understand how important that is, and how sweet it can sound when done right.
Right.
Exactly.
When really done right on acoustic guitar. Now, me, I'm an old sloppy guitar player. I learned to play best I could, and wish I could play better. I always wish I could play better. Can't seem to put the dedication. Can't seem to have the dexterity in my fingers that some people are just naturally born with.
They're gifted. Yeah.
You play fine.
My mind's
Lee. You
always
play
more on
fine.
the creative side than it is the finesse in those strings. But either way, I've kind of got my own sloppy style, which works for me. And so I start writing, and we start writing, and after a while, my wife got tired of us sitting in this very same room I'm in right now. Dishes coming in, fiddles playing coming in 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. They do a track while she's trying to sleep in the next room.
Right.
You can imagine. My son was pretty young back then. And
you mean to tell me that women aren't tolerant of that, Lee?
Well, wives.
Wives.
There's wives are women, but not all women are wives.
Oh, you get it.
That's a brand new quote from me.
that's kind of a mathematical thing, isn't it? It's
well,
not all trees are oaks, but
But it's like one of them things where, like I said, she couldn't put up with it much longer. So by that time, I was already actually a few years into it, and we'd met another guy named Mac McBride, which was a pretty seasoned songwriter himself, and we all three wrote our own stuff, and Dan did a lot of the instrument work because he was so good at playing bass, and he got a pretty good programming the drum machine. So we eventually moved down on Music Row and has a little studio, 1017 16th Avenue down there, across from what used to be the old auto hour. They moved it since then a little further away into the old market. But anyway, we were on Music Row for several years and just had a base of operations there. I'd take off on Wednesdays from the record shop and, of course, be there half every night, just get off at 7, go straight there. And had different people I worked with, a guy named Dave Lane, who was a fantastic guy, no kin to me, spelled his name Layne. And
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, he spelled his name. He was from Missouri, and he passed away about a year ago. Really, still sad about that. But I hadn't seen him in 10 years or so. He'd fled the state after a couple of DUIs. He was so scared of going to jail, and never came back to Tennessee. But just a hell of a guy. Anyway, and with that, we wrote many songs and recorded many songs and just opened a studio for other people doing demos, and then I kind of took a break from the whole thing because I wanted to help these kids coming in the shop. That's when rap music was really taking off, and a lot of these kids who are trying to be rappers, and so I took a little time away. I mean, didn't completely drop it, but to try my hand at running a record company.
Right.
Small, but still.
The rest is history.
I mean, it's some kind of history, but it's it was legitimate. I mean, it was we're
Absolutely.
I mean, it was a real company. It wasn't just something I called a record company.
Right.
And
you are an icon here in West Nashville. I mean, people use your building as a landmark, daily conversations. Oh, go past New Life Records.
Right.
The big yellow sign.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And I always tell people, look for that budget break sign. We're right beside that. Right across from Goodwill,
Yeah, the old
They
Goodwill.
seem to all know where Goodwill is. It hadn't been there, 6-7 years.
Yep, that's true.
Wherever they go, people are going to find Goodwill,
Yeah. Well, hey, we're gonna play a snippet of the next song, "Outlaw Needs an Angel." Any story behind this one?
This is a song. Yeah, I'm glad you asked first because this is a song. For many years, I hadn't got dived into my second phase of songwriting, but this is kind of my second phase of songwriting. The first phase I had, I was strictly trying to write songs that I thought some of these country artists would like,
Right.
And you write, what comes to you too, but it was almost by writing, it was almost assignment type writing. what would George Strait like? What kind of songs has he done in the past? That kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
And so it's it kind of comes down to creative with assignment in mind,
Sure.
And in the second phase after the whole rap thing, which is a pretty good story in itself, was what I call my real, writing just for myself and looking at writing as a whole different attitude than I did before, which I think was a better attitude. I still think it is. And I'd like to talk about that, but go ahead and play something if you want to.
All right, so here we go.
This Outlaw Needs an Angel. Oh, let me say this, yeah. When I was writing this song, I did think when I wrote it that it would be something Leonard Skinner might want to cut. Without, but I didn't write it for them.
Sure.
I wrote it with Skinner in mind. Let's put it that way.
With him in mind for singing it.
Sometimes when you start writing songs, you'll think, well, let me write this kind of song.
Sure.
And a lot of artists do this. Believe me, this is ongoing throughout the industry. But anyway, so it's just an old cowboy song about an old outlaw, gunslinger, gunfighter, hired gun, whatever you want to call him, who's ready to settle down and looking for a woman that will help him settle down.
All right, so here we go. Outlaw Needs an Angel.
It's a hell of a thing, killing a man. Take away all he's got, and all he's ever gonna have. Yeah. Well, I guess they had it coming. We all have it coming.
Feels like the devil has got his hands wrapped around my lonely soul, and I'm so tired of running. Seems like the only road I know, and this outlaw needs an angel, someone to love him every day. One good woman stand beside him, strong enough to help him change.
All right, for everybody out there that wants to hear the rest of it, you're going to have to go to Lee Lane's YouTube channel. That's Outlaw Needs an Angel. Just search that on YouTube. Lee Lane, Outlaw Needs an Angel. That's what we pulled it up under.
Hey, brother, I really appreciate y'all playing some of this music. I mean, I've got so many songs, and so many songs I have never even recorded yet. I've been backlogged on recording and been lazy about it, I guess. But both times I heard both songs, I'm sitting there thinking, we'll wait till the last verse.
I know.
Oh, sorry, man.
To me, when you write a song, you just want to rake it all in on that last verse.
Absolutely, and that's just it. We're gonna send so much.
Sorry.
Oh no, I'm not. I didn't expect y'all to play the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
Just telling you how I'm feeling as I'm listening to it.
Well, I'll tell you what. The next one we'll play all of it.
Oh no.
Kind of a teaser. It's kind of a teaser. I know.
It's whatever. No, but I mean that song right there is a real kind of a.
That's a storytelling song.
Story song.
Absolutely, and you can't. It's hard to tease you with the first bit and not finish it. I know it's like watching the beginning of a movie and then not finishing the movie. It's the same thing.
Don't get me wrong. I'm proud of all three verses, but the last verse just kind of wraps it up a little bit.
Absolutely.
Can I tell you something?
Especially on War is Hell.
Right.
Absolutely.
Can I tell you something? Your voice. The more I listen to it, the more I like it. The more I hear you, the more it just resonates. Your voice is it just seems
it's comfortable.
It is. It's very, and it's also unique. So don't ever think you don't have a voice, my friend.
Man,
You've got one.
Well, to be honest with you, all those years I spent at the studio, even down on Music Row, my first phase, I would call it, I never sang on the demo, except one silly little song I wrote. It was almost, it's a silly little song.
It's usually the silly little songs that make it big.
Well, this one probably could have made it pretty good. This one might have entertained some people. Sometimes you write these songs that would fit sitting around a bar and just playing songs for each other. And I've never really been that kind of a writer. And I've been in those settings so many times in West Nashville, Johnny's Tavern, the Idle Hour, which has now moved down the road from where it was, but just shortly down the road.
Real quick, what's the name of the song? Is it up on YouTube?
Which one? Oh, no, this song, you don't know.
Ah, man, okay.
I could maybe come in sometime and play it live for you guys.
Okay.
All right, let's do that.
But it's a funny song. It's called, what is it called? It's about hillbilly it's about a hippie with a haircut.
Hippie with a haircut. I've heard it.
Yeah.
I've heard this one.
It's a basic song about.
I've actually played with it.
And when I do it live, it's a lot of fun because when I do it, I can do it straight with my regular voice, or I can, as I like to do it almost every time, is I'll get the audience to get quiet and help me conjure up the spirit of Ernest T. Bass. So I sing it in the voice of Ernest T. Bass.
Oh, I love it.
So yeah, and it's kind of funny because I said I'd never sung on those demos and stuff down at the studio, and I didn't because I never thought about being a singer, never thought about being a entertainer of any kind, or getting on stage and singing in front of people. None of that came to my mind. That was never my plan. So I always hired what I thought was some of the best singers to sing my stuff. And it was only my mom. I used to go by her house when she was still alive, and she, I said, Mom, let's this new song. I already used to run everything first by my son. And he's kind of my barometer right off the bat.
Sure.
And I go to my mom. She'd say, why don't you ever sing? I mean, you sound as good as that guy. And I'm like, Mom, I'm not a singer. And not more professional people do. So that's kind of, and how it worked out, and how that whole thing worked out is, I had this song, and I wasn't going to play the Music Row anymore. I wasn't going to play their game anymore. Decided I was just going to, when I got through the rap thing, I kind of thought, I'm going to continue writing, and I'm going to write what I want to just for me. It's kind of for me, not for anybody else.
Right.
But I wrote this song, and it turned out it would fit who was an up-and-coming artist at that time, Shooter Jennings. And this guy had heard it, and he said, man, you need to record that and let me send that to Shooter. And I'm like, oh, here we go, here we go.
Right.
Same old shit, And I thought, he convinced me to make a guitar vocal demo, or some kind of demo. So at that time, my studio had been long gone, and by design and everything. And I got a friend of mine named Andre Nix, lives in West Nashville on Morrow Road. And we got up there going to do a little guitar vocal demo, and that meant I had to sing it. And as we started, he said, he had a set of drums there. He said, well, we add some drums on, we'll add this. I'm like, listen, dude, if we're going to do this right, if we're going to do this full demo, let me make a couple of phone calls. And the first thing I did was call Gary Skipper, which is a long, long time friend of JJ's. And fantastic drummer, probably one of the best drummers I've ever known.
Absolutely.
Definitely the best drummer in West Nashville.
Oh, wow.
I mean, this guy, I call him a disciple of Neil. And I think everybody knows who Neil is when we talk about drummers.
Right.
So anyway, got Gary, and I got another guy named Gary Sirkin, who was basically raised on Hendrix, and basically he's a disciple of Hendrix. And
right.
I knew he could play all kinds of stuff. So he played the bass and the guitar tracks, and we did this song, and I sent it off, and I did the vocal work on it. And it was really kind of called The Last Son, because it kind of turned out I was the last son in my family, and Shooter's last son, Waylon, has too,
Nice.
So I thought it might work. I even left a verse open only wrote 2 verses. Even though I wrote third verse, and I started on third verse. I'm not sure if I finished it, but I thought I'm gonna leave a verse open in case he likes this. Let him write about, because this is kind of about him.
Sure.
Only in a wider sense about people who's the last son, but talks about outlaw blood in his veins and stuff. But anyway, so that got me started, and the next thing you know, I'm like, what else you got? And I'm like, well, I can go back and pull out one of them old country songs I wrote a few years back, but I thought, nah, I'll just come up with something new, because I was already writing again. So we start writing and recording and writing and recording, and the next thing you know, they're like, when are we going to play out? I'm like, damn, y'all played out all your lives. I mean, Gary Serkin's old as I was, and Skipper's a little younger, but they both had seasoned on playing shows and stuff. And I'd never done that in my life, I did one Bluebird thing and one chili supper before that.
Oh, wow.
And I tell you, both times I was scared as shit.
Right.
No.
Not a stage performer?
Not really. Never wanted to be.
He is now.
And then I just decided, I told him, I said, guys, if we'll practice for about a month, and we get this real tight, let me get used to it. And what I did is I sat in with a friend of mine, Dave Sangster, who was over at Gary's house today. I pulled him away. Him and Sangster was visiting. I pulled Gary out of the house to get him to come do that demo. And anyway, he let me go on stage with him, and I did some backup stuff for him one night. And I started getting a feel for what it looks like to be on stage.
Getting your feet wet, yeah.
Looking at the audience, and all the people looking back at you,
Yeah, that's an experience you got to deal with, yeah. People don't realize that, yeah.
But I had done some handgun classes, a whole different phase of another chapter where I'm a certified handgun instructor, and I started doing classes and working with, people, 10 to 20 people at a time in classroom settings, which gave me a little bit of a learning experience as far as facing people.
Right.
But, so anyway, that's how that started, and next thing you know, I found this big old country ham in me I didn't know was there, and now I just, like a fool, I was there if he'd give me half a chance, and never really got scared. It was just more of a, you just kind of just let go and say, okay, I'm old, I'm fat, and I'm having a good time out here, and I hope y'all have a good time too. And then, man, I don't say that to the audience, but
that's pretty much my motto every day, man. I'm old, I'm fat, and I'm a DJ.
That's my motto too.
If I have a good time, they usually have a good time.
Yeah, and if my hair's sticking up, well, fuck you.
But anyway, that's kind of the deal, the first or second show we played for about 200-300 people at this biker event out there right off of West End at a little bike shop.
Nice.
And full blown stage with probably $2,000 stage at least to rent that day, and
hell
huge,
yeah.
Great big, like the big deal, like the big dogs use.
Yeah.
And here I was, and we did that one song, War is Hell, and it's kind of funny. It's got 4 verses in it, and after we did the whole show, I was feeling great, and Gary, the drummer, he was kind of sick. He drank too many energy drinks or something.
Uh-huh.
But he looked at me when I got off stage. He said, "You do realize you forgot the verse of that song?" I'm like, "What?"
Uh-oh.
He said, "No, man, you left out a whole verse." I said, "No, you crazy, man." And everybody else said, "Yeah, you did." And he said, "But you just kept going." I said, "Well, shit, I didn't even know I was having such a good time."
Wow.
So, but JJ actually was our first bass player, and we did a little something up at one of the. Then we did this little beginning thing up there, one of the bars or something, JJ.
Actually we did.
Was we sitting in on somebody else's set? I can't remember.
Went on Bum set. I don't
Is
know
that what it was?
Yeah.
So we just sit in on somebody else's set. That's right.
Right.
And
I was scared shitless. I had that stage fright. I don't know where it came from or.
Well, knowing you, I can't even imagine it.
I know it, man. I know it. It's just
you're one of the most outgoing people I know.
Man, that's exactly what I thought when we started firing up this podcast. I'm on the mic every weekend talking to people, and so I'm used to. I've gotten over it, and I knew JJ in high school being that center of attention. When he walks in a room, everybody looked at JJ, always cutting up, making people laugh, loud mouth, but entertaining. every single day. You know, every time he came into a room, he just lit it up. So to imagine him up on stage at any point in his lifetime and getting stage fright, here he is doing plays in front of hundreds of people at the high school, you know, acting and talking and doing a great job.
At one point, getting on the stage with a nothing but a grass skirt and a coconut bra. Do you remember that?
Absolutely. Oh, I wish we had pictures. Somebody come
doing
on.
a belly dance.
Pearl Cone alumni from 1989, 89, 90. You've got to come up with that picture.
You know,
of
I
JJ.
may have some pictures of that guy.
Somebody's got
I
to
have that.
Somebody's got
I
it.
do somewhere.
I did a belly dance. Now, if I do a belly dance, it'd be like a Homer Simpson. It would take a little while for you to see it, you know.
Oh man, that's great. Well, that's cool, man. That JJ sat in with you a couple of
When
times.
he just sit in, he was a rambler, and
okay.
actually kind of got a little ticked when he didn't want to be a rambler. When he just didn't want to be. His whole life kind of changed.
Sure.
He had lots of things going on. I think your job was taking more over and whatever it was. I mean,
home life and everything.
I had to find another bass player. You got to figure JJ and Gary Skipper were like best friends forever and a day, and still great friends. And I love the idea of playing with friends.
Absolutely.
Right.
You know, and JJ's a solid bass player.
I do apologize. I do apologize for that.
Well, I'm just saying you're a solid bass player, and so I had everything to begin to think. But you know, he did his thing, and that's one of the things I've had to learn about this whole band business. I mean, here coming to it late in life. I was age 50 when I started my first band.
Oh wow.
You got to think I started writing when I was 30, and age 50, I didn't do this till I was 50 years old. And so one of the things I had to learn about this whole band business is letting go. Letting go of people you don't want to let go of. They're your friends, they're your and then you got something invested together when you're doing music together. You feel like you're not just friends, but you're partners at this point.
Right.
Partners in a band. Take several partners to be in a band. But anyway.
But you got to realize, that other people sometimes are not on the same, wavelength.
Well, either not on the same page, or they
got so much going on.
Life just gets in the way.
Right.
And I've always said that, I won't put the music I do that other people are helping me do and doing with me, which I consider our music at that point. I don't consider my music, I consider our music. But I never want to put that in front of family or work or making money. And I understand because we're not out there we're having a good time, but we're not making money, and it's not that we can't do another time,
Yeah. At the time, to explain myself a little bit, I was on the downhill slide to the Big D. I
was guessing that when he started.
Was that Denver?
Dallas.
Dallas?
Yeah.
The Big D.
The Big D, and then.
I know what it was. It was the Dome.
Yeah. And then.
Well, you mean
my mom was going through Alzheimer's.
You mean you was a big dickhead? Is that what you was? A big dickhead?
A lot of shit was changing, man. A lot of shit was changing. I'm back to having that itch again, though.
Yeah, he's doing what he loves right now. He's back entertaining.
Well, man, like I said, we all had a great time, and what I learned from this whole band experience, and still learning that you've got to learn to let go, and just because you're super tight and got everything just right, and that's when things can fly apart. I guess it's like a well-tuned race car. Another one of JJ's passions.
Yeah.
And is that when the engine's running the tip-top shape is when it's liable to blow.
Yep.
Now that's one of the other things we're going to get into. JJ, fill in. We're going to start interviewing race car drivers and get out there on the track with our little voice recorders and. Maybe get down in the engine and in the pits and the cockpits of the car while he's about to fire it up and ask what's going through your mind right now. Are you thinking of the checkered flag or whatever? But we just really want to get down right there and just start talking and asking for some pointers for people building their first race car, stuff like that.
I'll go ahead and tell you what I was thinking. Every race I was thinking you got to be in it to win it, and you stay. Keep the wheels on it, get around the track, and at the last 4 or 5 laps, that's when you make your moves.
That's it.
And You know, one time, JJ, we've had many conversations at the shop, and when you do music, you know, the only way I look at it is like JJ just said, you got to be in it to win it. You know, you're not there to come in second or third. You're there to win the son of a bitch. You know,
Absolutely.
Even if you ain't first, you last.
Ricky Bobby.
But anyway, we had
I just watched that movie, by the way, so that's ringing home.
Well, we had this conversation one
Little
night.
baby Jesus, little baby Jesus.
Let me tell you, me and JJ had this conversation one night about music, and JJ had said something to me, and he said, "Let's talk about music," and you know, and what I thought he was alluding to was, I guess he was trying to let me know reality, you know, where I was musically or whatever. And he wasn't putting me down, but he was basically, you know,
constructive
in comparison with somebody like a Willie Nelson or a big guy, you know, big famous artist and everything.
Sure.
Go ahead. You just say I was being an asshole.
And I told JJ, I said, listen, brother, I said, you know, when you race cars, I mean, do you do it to come in second or third or something? You think you're not as good as those guys are? He said, no, man, I think I'm as good. I wouldn't be out there. It's the same way I fucking felt about music, man.
That's right.
There you go.
The way I feel to this day. I mean,
That's right.
if I don't have the confidence that I can do, well, at least what I accomplished to do, which ain't a whole lot. I don't really have lofty goals, but nevertheless, even if I did, I realize where I'm at musically, and I realize where the odds are. I'm not going to be some older rock star or country star or any kind of star. I'm just going to be who I am and do my music and hope people like it, and because I like it, you know.
Well, if I pissed you off, I didn't mean it.
No, you did piss me off. Actually,
I could be an accidental asshole.
I was
sometimes.
just comparing the whole fact that when I asked you the same question back, you kind of I think you kind of understood.
Yeah, he instantly felt how you felt, and so I was right. You were being a big D.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't saying it in a derogatory way at all. But I had to at least assure him that if I didn't feel this way, that I wouldn't even be doing it.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think you got to, and I think that's the reason. There's a lot of people, and we know, and I hope I ain't one of them that just suck, you know. Mm-hmm. And they got all the confidence in the world too.
No,
but
you're
either
not.
way, even for those who suck,
She banged.
you don't have the confidence. You just really don't need to be out there.
That's it.
That's it. And
right.
Anyway, so that was that. I mean, no, I love JJ to death. He knows how I feel about him, and we have great conversations. He's gave me great advice on things, and maybe vice versa at times.
You have feelings mutual. You're a smart guy,
You know?
Lee. And everybody go to New Life. Everybody get down there. And matter of fact, we didn't touch on this. He has vintage albums. He has vintage. Get this, vintage 8-track cassette. What is it called? 8-track tapes.
Yeah,
8-track tapes.
Yeah, he's got 8 tracks in the building.
He's got all sorts of stuff. You need to. I mean, just you could go through it. You could go down there for days.
Do you have an 8-track player for sale?
No, I don't. I had two, and one worked and one didn't, so I kept the one that did work.
Well, it's time to go to Goodwill and find one.
Well, what I was going to finish up and say about this whole band business is I had to learn how to let go, you know what I'm saying, and let go for reasons that sometimes I didn't understand, sometimes I didn't agree with, and sometimes I understood perfectly, you know.
Well, that's a great question. You lived it. You lived the transition from 8-track to cassette tape to CD to now it's all digital. I mean, oh my God, what?
Yeah, I mean, I have, but that's not my.
I did forget vinyl.
We're getting off into a subject. I mean, I wanted to finish the subject I was on.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry.
And I'll wrap it up.
Sorry, Lee.
But all I'm trying to say is, it's really important that people who are in bands kind of understand that there's a whole. I had to learn something about letting go of things, and it wasn't easy, you know. And I want to mention who played on the demos too. Gary Skipper on drums, great guy. Has on a different path in his life currently, but he'll probably get back on the drums someday. He should. Gary Serkin, who still a good friend, but wants to dedicate all his time now to nothing but Hendrix music and playing Hendrix music, which that's his decision. Wouldn't be my choice,
but that's his decision. And
phenomenal player. He's a good
nonetheless,
player.
and then I've had several bass players, Rick Stewart, and after him, I'm currently working with Gary Rabaska, who's been a great friend and real enthusiastic about playing. And
good guy.
Good guy. Plays a little busy bass. He knows it. We're trying to slow him down on that.
Happy bass. He's got a happy bass.
And I've got this new drummer right now. I work with a guy named Scott, which is a really great guy, but he's on the road driving buses for these country stars, so he couldn't stay involved because his work took him away. And but I found this great new drummer, and I hope I can keep him. His name is Bobby Whittick, and I mean he's ever a good bit as good as Skip in some ways, and just but different in so many other ways. But either way, they both can play, and they both are really good. It's just that me and Skip were almost on a mind reading type thing when we were playing together, and that's a funny thing you can get with playing in a band, and you almost start reading each other's minds when you're playing and what to do and where to go, you know. And,
right.
And it's a spiritual almost experience, you know, at some nights when things are really right on, you know.
I'm glad you said that because it really is. When you're around somebody, it's sort of like when you're married, you finish each other's sentences. When you play music for so long, you know when somebody's going to talk and when you're going to talk, and it's great.
It's unbelievable, you know. I mean, even the worst shows are good. Most of the time are fun if you keep them that way.
Right.
But then sometimes they're just, and not just shows, but nights in the studio, nights at just practice, you know. And I always love the camaraderie of playing with friends. And I've been told by many people that you just gotta just try to find somebody different, and be whether you know them or not. And I've done that, and it's worked out. You know, Gary, I didn't know Gary Rabaska at first, but it's worked out. And but I always liked the idea of playing with friends, you know, longtime friends.
Right.
And staying friends and respecting each other and loving each other, you know, and really like it's supposed to be. But I found out that that's a tough thing to want and be in a band, because bands are just so hard to keep together. And if you watch any documentary from the one on Metallica to the ones on the Eagles, you realize that bands are hard to hold together because there's going to become differences that you can't understand, and you still got to let go anyway.
Right.
And that's the hardest part right there, you know, because it truly hurts. And, you know, and I really still love all these people. I'm not at odds with any of them. Right. Anyway, I just can't tell you how much I appreciate them and wish I had a lot of them back, you know, because, you know, it felt good. I mean, I've got a piece of a band right now. We're putting together a band right now, and we're still playing. We go out and play 10 songs. But to teach a whole new set of people original material is much tougher than saying play LaGrange by ZZ Top, because they all know that song, you know.
Heard it 1,000 times, yeah.
You know. So anyway, that's the band business, you know, and that's still part of my life. Hopefully, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm just getting tired, but and the other part of my life has been record shop. But like JJ, I grew up in West Nashville.
Love it.
And I was a West Park kid, and I went to West Park every day until I got a car. And I found other places to go.
Hey, Lee. Hate to interrupt you, man. It's my ADD kicking in. But JJ and I were talking the other day. Why? You know, it's called the Nations over here.
I can tell you exactly why, but go ahead.
No, and that's what I was going to ask you, because there was a Facebook post of a famous store, a little convenience store, and it said, if you know this store, you know the Nations in West Nashville.
All right.
And so, you know, a lot of people have been sharing it and liking it. And
what was the store?
If you hold on just 1 second, I will tell you.
I will make a guess. How about I guess at what it is?
Yes,
Go ahead. You win a prize.
Make a guess. That was Edwards Grocery Store.
I think so. Hold on. Let me see. I'm signing in. But go ahead and explain.
Does it got a gas pump out in front of it? With some kids around it?
I don't know. I think it started with an L. I'm going to pull it up here in a second. I shared it on my wall.
Well, there's a bunch of old stores that was in West Nashville that are torn down.
As soon as I say it, you're going to know.
There was a Neidert had one.
Well, you know where H&H Market is.
Right.
There's one on Kentucky, and there's one on on Centennial.
Right.
And they're both right down the street from each other when you look at it, because it's just one's on one end of the street and one's on the other end of the street.
Right.
And those stores were originally owned by a guy named Edwards, Mrs. Edwards. When I was a kid. It was Mrs. Edwards and her son Aquila. And her son Aquila ran it, and she was getting pretty old then, and that was called Edwards General Grocery Store.
Here it is, Levert's Market.
Levert's is, Levert's is on the corner of Centennial Boulevard, and it's been there a long time, but nowhere near as long as Edwards Grocery Store.
Okay.
Yeah, but Levert's is a liquor store and a convenience store. And
can you please tell us what people mean when they call it the Nations and why it got that name?
Oh, I finally realized it. I didn't understand it. We got to understand. I was a West Park kid. We grew up in West Park all the time, and going different places and hang around what we used to call the Pike, which is basically Charlotte Pike, and the area where McDonald's is, and all the way down to I'm trying to think what's there, Good Things and Cool Stuff, whatever it is. That area, that little strip across from the park, that was our major shopping district, first of all, and we just called it the Pike for Charlotte Pike.
Sure.
But I don't know if everybody else called it that. That's what we called it in our family. But
that's what we called it too.
After studying, and it was great stores. I got to the whole conversation just on those stores.
I just told my dad today I'm going up on the Pike. You need anything?
On the Pike, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that was like a little shot. It was really something. But anyway, no, it came from the Chickasaw Indian Nation, and the Chickasaw Indians were mostly what was in that area. And some people draw boundaries, and there's no boundaries for Indians like that. I mean, come on, they didn't have boundaries like that. Not that they draw, but basically you can figure from the Cumberland River, which is always the main thoroughfare for moving things, because there wasn't no trains or cars or except horses maybe, and the river was always the commerce thing. So the Chickasaw Indians from the Cumberland River, at least up to Charlotte Pike, in that whole West Nashville area. Some people, like I said, draw borders. I think Sylvian Park wants to just be called Sylvian Park.
Right.
But damn if it wasn't some Chickasaw over there too. They just choose a prettier name, I guess. And we never used the Nations growing up. Did you, JJ?
A little bit.
I never heard that word before the 80s.
Yeah, a little bit. We used it. I don't know. It was just
First
kind of
time
one
I
of
heard
those
it, I
things.
thought it was stupid. Because I thought they were
state streets.
They were called state streets for like nations, and I'm like,
yeah,
that's exactly what I thought. So JJ was trying to explain that maybe it had something to do with a big treaty was signed or something.
Well, that's part of what I was telling you. The Chickasaw Indians, there was a peace treaty over over Louisiana Avenue, which runs parallel with Morrow Road, close to West Park. And that tree was where a lot of treaties were signed, not between just the white man and the Indians, but different Indian nations, And so that was a meeting place. And so, yeah, and I was kind of glad I finally did the history and figured this out, because it's much cooler than somebody thinking State Street should be called Nations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought, oh, God. That just makes you sound backwards,
That tree was there. I think it's gone now. That tree was there all the way up until the 90s, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. Bro. It was a long time.
It may have been the flood that got it. May have been.
There's supposed to be I don't know if it's still there, but one of those plaque-type marker things.
Right.
For years, like I don't know if it's still there or not. It's funny, you live in West Nashville, you sometimes don't take notice of the things that you used to see, especially when you were walking. When you're driving, you don't take notice of things you did when you walk the streets as a kid and bicycles, and you notice things a lot more because you're not going so fast.
Absolutely.
But there was a plaque at one time out there at the bridge, Charlotte Avenue, where the creek is, and a lot of people don't realize that's where West Nashville Nashville city limits ended for years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, right there at Richland Creek.
I didn't know that.
Uh-huh. And they had a little plaque in a concrete, and in kind of that greenish stuff that gets over the metal, the brass or whatever it is, bronze. And, it was there for years. I think it may still be. And I think there's some kind of marker like that by that peace tree.
That's pretty
Maybe
cool.
real small.
Well, Lee, what is the address of New Life Records? Is it 5343 Charlotte Avenue?
5343 Charlotte Avenue.
Yep, Charlotte Pike. Is your
West
phone?
Nashville, Tennessee.
Your phone number is 615
292-0946.
292-0946. Well, Lee, we're gonna finish off unless there's something else you want to, say or get
No,
off
I'm
your chest.
glad y'all are doing this. This is cool. I know I dominated the conversation, but I had to get my life poured into one little, podcast. And,
Lee,
I mean,
listen.
I'm gonna tell you guys, when I write the book one day on New Life.
You better get writing, man. You ain't getting any younger. You're no spring chicken.
Well, you don't have to remind me of that either. I got mirrors.
I got mirrors.
I'm going to tell you something, man. I started writing it, and I've got a little start on it. But then I also stopped writing it because I started realizing that this book was going to not only cause me a divorce, but probably a split partnership with my business partner, and
Wow.
and I may be under some statute of limitations as far as law breaking goes.
Sure.
And just a number of things that I'm just going to have to try to outlive some people before I let them.
Listen to you. That's awesome.
And I mean, because I put it this way, I believe it or not, I was so shy growing up. I mean, in so many ways. Unless I was around my friends, that was different. But, I was the kind of kid that if I even thought they called my name, I broke out into a sweat. The thought of having to stand up or answer a question. And I was kind of went from Rock Harbor Marina, where I lived on a houseboat, and there's a great part of life right there, just learning to work on boats and living on the river. But I went from there to coming into New Life, and almost from the day one, I was just thrown to the lines. And Gary, my partner, Gary Adams, he just found reasons to leave and leave me watching the shop and running the shop. And my first week, I had two really hot-looking, slightly older women than me. You got to realize I was 20, and they wanted to show me their tattoos. I was like, fine. So they went behind the counter and started stripping their clothes off. I'm like, what the hell? And they got tattoos in places their clothes are covered up. And I'm like, Jesus Christ! And that was the first week.
Wow.
And it only got crazier from there.
Yeah, he hadn't left yet. He's still.
Lee, why you didn't start off with these stories? Oh my God.
Well, I mean, they say Indies on the good one, huh?
Yeah, I kind of peeked.
I was there when I heard that Elvis had died, and of course
Wow.
the shuttle and the Michael Jackson and the 9/11. It's funny the history that you realize, you've been in one place. And I just leave it with this. My son, one time, he asked me, one time was in Kroger's, and this one he was pretty small. He's 32 now, and I'll be 33 this year. He was in Kroger's, and we'd go places, and we'd always hang out together, me and my son. And I always tried to get my business back to West Nashville, even though I've got a house in West Nashville, but I live in Bellevue. And I always try to shop in West Nashville, support West Nashville.
Sure.
So I'd be in the Kroger's or someplace, and there are always people coming up to me, hey, New Life, what's up, Lee? New Life. Or they don't know your name, they call you New Life,
Yeah.
And here I am.
Your name became New Life, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, hey, what's up, And,
well, you are the face of New
Life
Life
what I was going
Records.
to say is my son asked me, he said, Daddy, are you famous? I said, no, son. I said, I've just been in the same place for a long time.
That's it.
When you're in a place for a long time, people don't know who you are.
You're a landmark, man.
And he's been at Home Depot now for about 14 years, and now it's, hey, Home Depot.
Now he understands.
Yeah, hey, yeah. And I get a lot more, aren't you Dusty's dad?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, it's kind of that cat's in the cradle thing in a lot of ways. It's kind of funny, but
Fruit don't fall far, does it?
Well, I'm just saying that when you've been in the same place for long enough, and a lot of people come by, you get to know a lot of people, and a lot of people get to know you, or at least they think they know you, and want to get acquainted with you at least,
What are we going to do when we drive past New Life Records and Lee's not there anymore? Who's going to take over?
Well, the secret that I've told a few people.
Uh-oh. Here we
It's
go.
right here, man.
Here comes the juice.
The truth is, this whole New Life has been the training ground for the job I'm going to take afterwards. And when I retire, well, it's really not retiring. It's really beginning my true career. I'm going to get me a yellow marker, and I'm going to stand at the doors of Walmart and be a greeter.
I love it.
And I look forward to having my blue vest.
Hold on, can we get a little tease right here? Can you go ahead and get
my little blue vest and have my little yellow marker.
And what are you gonna say? What are you gonna say? 3,
how
2,
y'all
1.
doing? Welcome, come on down to Walmart. How y'all doing?
Welcome to
y'all have a
Walmart.
good day, brother. You know.
Hell yeah,
brother thing, and I have my little marker. Mark off, make sure they ain't stealing nothing, and I'll be having me one of them little go kart things you can ride around and.
Welcome to Walmart.
Nah, well, I'm gonna be a greeter. And
I remember.
It's been training. My whole career's been a training grounds for.
Welcome to Walmart.
Welcome to Walmart.
I love it. Hey, be honest with you, Lee. My mother was a Walmart greeter when it first moved in down there.
Bet she loved it.
She loved it. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved being a greeter and just smiling and greeting people and shaking their hands and
get your basket.
Patting them on the shoulder and oh man, she loved it. Well, Lee, we're gonna finish up with this song, "Begging for a Bone." You asked for it, so
are you gonna let it play?
I'm gonna let it play, man. We're gonna
it's a little risque, okay? And let me just say about "Begging for a Bone."
All right, that's okay. We're a risque kind of show. It's okay.
Our drummer is Gary Skipper, of course, and all the people I named. And Gary and Bum both add the keyboard part on it themselves.
Okay. Wow.
And Gary, and we had a great time at night at the studio, and the song's only got 2 chords in it.
No kidding.
2-chord song.
Okay. Well, we're going to say goodbye to you, Lee, and ride out with this one. Thank you so very much for talking with us today. And this is a tribute to you and New Life Records. And I know you.
Don't hang up, Jackie. I want to hear my song on
absolutely.
the song.
We're going to let it play and ride out with it. If you feel like you need to comment anytime during the song, well, I can bring the volume down and let you talk over it. That'll be just fine. But we're gonna ride out to the end of the show with this, and we'll continue talking with you after the song.
Okay.
But this will be riding out just for the episode.
Sounds great.
So, Lee, thank you so very much. Mr. Lee Lane, New Life Records. Go West Nashville, Charlotte Pike, and go check them out.
Lee Lane and the Stony Creek Ram.
Shake it, that thing.